Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Ben Cole, Executive Editor at InformationWeek. Artificial intelligence use in the business is pretty much a given for modern companies, and now business AI strategy has moved beyond just implementing AI processes and into how companies can make money from these AI investments. I'm joined today by Daryle Serrant, a technologist, AI consultant, and educator with over a decade of experience building innovative solutions for startups and enterprise clients. He's also an author of courses on generative AI and data science. Thanks so much for joining us today, Daryle.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Of course, yeah. Just to set the stage for our discussion, how has companies' approach to business AI strategy and development changed as AI technology has evolved?
Yeah, so over the past few years, there's been a significant shift in how companies approach AI. So in the early days, a lot of businesses treated AI kind of like a novelty, kind of like an experiment, something that was just put in the back of their corner. Often tucked away in like R&Ds or innovation labs, without a clear connection to the bottom line. And it was used in a lot of isolated projects, maybe to automate a few kind of repetitive tasks. And then for the most part, AI was in the domain of engineers and data scientists. So you didn't really have only of people who had the kind of like the technical know-how could really play with it, interact with it, and really understand how to use it. The average person really didn't interact with it directly. And when they did, they didn't always realize that they were actually interacting with an AI. So they might have understood it or noticed that when Netflix recommended a movie, or when Amazon suggested a product, or even when Gmail kind of filtered out spam, but all those algorithms was kind of tucked away behind and then working behind the scenes. And that all changed when tools like ChatGPT came along. And then all of a sudden, the power of AI was placed directly into the hands of the end users. And that completely changed everything. And for a lot of business leaders, it was like a real like, oh, wow moment. And for some of them, it was a kind of an oh, crap moment. Because now they can really see what AI could do. And it sparked a lot of curiosity, a lot of excitement, and in some cases, really a sense of urgency. And a lot of companies started moving to implement AI into the very center of their business strategy. Because like problems that used to take a lot of specialized models, a lot of months of fine tuning and work in architecture could now suddenly be solved with a general purpose model in a fraction of the time. So the barriers of entry definitely lowered for development of AI, and the time to value really shortened. And so today what we're seeing is a more intentional approach where leaders are really asking questions like, how does this AI project produce customer experience? How does it improve customer experience? Can it reduce our costs? And can it unlock new revenue for our company? And the stronger focus is on return on investment, on integrating AI into existing workflows, making sure every initiative aligns with broader business goals. So the companies that I see that are really succeeding in AI aren't just building models, they're really focusing on building systems that deliver value. And they think about ROI in 3 layers. So one, measurable results that they can track, how the AI projects align them towards achieving longer term strategic growth, and the capabilities and skills it unlocks for their teams. That's the biggest shift I see in AI. It's not just something to experiment with anymore. It's something that companies are operationalizing intentionally.
And what does measurable AI-related ROI look like for modern companies?
Yeah, so measure ROI from AI really comes down to one question. And that question is the project delivering tangible business results? And that might mean increased revenue, reduced costs, greater efficiency, or even a measurable boost in customer engagement or satisfaction. The most successful AI projects aren't just innovative, they're also aligned with KPIs that the leadership is already focused on, that they already care about. They improve business processes that either are already being tracked or can be benchmarked clearly to show progress. And let me give you a couple of examples where I've seen this in play. So one example is predictive maintenance. So let's say you have a large industrial manufacturer that's adopted an AI solution. And this solution analyzes equipment data help them predict when parts are likely to fail. And this will allow them to repair machinery before it breaks down. And what this company ended up doing when they implemented this solution is they ended up cutting their spare parts inventory down by 50%. And that's actually a clear win. That's a clear win. You have less downtime, fewer emergency repairs, and lower operational costs. So another example that I'll give you is fraud detection. So this is kind of a common use case in a lot of companies in the financial services industry, where you're focused on building a solution that can help reduce the likelihood of fraudulent transactions. So there's one company that implemented this very same solution, and they're able to flag suspicious transactions with a 95% accuracy. And what this did for them is help them dramatically, like I said, reduce false positives and save them millions of dollars in potential fraud losses. So not only was this like a win in a kind of a financial standpoint for that company, but it was also improved customer retention, customer experience, and also build trust with their customers, which is something that's a little bit harder to measure, but it's still incredibly valuable for companies to look at. And kind of the third example that I'll go through is personalized customer communication. So one case study that I looked up was with a major clothing brand, and they use a predictive customer modeling tool to really help them identify new customer personas for targeted ad campaigns and to help them automate communication with new customers across different channels. So the result they achieved at the end of this adoption was like a 15% increase in monthly revenue, a 22% increase in average order amount, and a 2x growth in active customers. So that's a measure of revenue growth that's directly tied to personalization. Now, depending on the industry, because every industry is different, the best opportunities companies should approach would be different. But in general, I think companies should look for use cases that allow them to automate repetitive or high volume tasks, enhance customer experience at scale, improve speed and accuracy of decision making, and also reduce the time to market or operational delays. And the key here is to, if I can add one more thing, the key here is to ask a couple questions. What is a high impact pain point for their business? What can AI be used? What can you use AI to do in terms of making you solve things faster, cheaper, and better? And most importantly, can we measure that difference that AI can make clearly? One more thing that I'll also focus, I keep adding new things to this. One more thing that I'll also emphasize is kind of focus matter. It's really important for companies to not chase use cases because they sound impressive, they sound cool, they'll make them look smart, but look for problems that have very strong precedents where you see a lot of other companies have succeeded. If you're looking at have a problem in mind and you see that you haven't found like a well-funded startup that's been able to crack that particular challenge, it may not be a right fit for short-term ROI. So I would say, again, focus on use cases that's been done before and not use cases that that might cost you a lot of time and money and research and development. And also consider the hidden costs, like in terms of the infrastructure, the amount of effort you might need to expend in getting your data ready and the ongoing maintenance after you deploy an AI product. And then ask, do the long-term benefits that you'll get from this product really outweigh the total cost of implementation? And if that answer is yes, and you can measure the impact of your AI project clearly, then you are in a great position to turn AI into a real business asset.
Excellent. And what about from a business strategy standpoint? What types of return on investment should companies expect from AI to improve the bottom line?
From a strategic perspective, AI isn't just about short-term results. It's also about it's also a long-term business enabler. So the ROI here often doesn't show up right away, especially if you're looking at some important gains like data infrastructure, like organizational alignment, and enabling new AI capabilities. This all takes time. But what they're really good at positioning the company in is in terms of growth, differentiation, and resilience. So that's why probably some of the most smartest companies that I've seen that's been really good at AI adoption, they really try to tie AI to long-term priorities. So this could be a 3 to 5 year growth target, a a major product launch, a need to stand out in a product market of competitors, similar competitors, or even a shift in how they do business, how they deliver value to their customers. So I'll give you a little fictitious example. So let's say you have a social media company, a social media platform for young athletes. And this platform has gained a lot of traction over the past couple of years, and they've onboarded thousands of users. But what really sets them apart, one of the key differentiators that they realized they had was the rich data set of statistics and performance data that they've collected from the users over time. So what they might decide to do is they might decide to develop an AI platform, an AI tool that helps college recruiters identify standout talent using that proprietary data they've collected. So that's a very strategic move because it leans towards their advantage that their competitors can't really, they don't have and can't really replicate, and opens them up to a new revenue stream. So other forms of strategic ROI that AI could provide is something like, let's say, personalized experiences that can improve lifetime value for customers, faster insights that help a company pivot quickly, or even a culture shift where AI becomes part of how a business solves problems and not just like a one-off tool. So these outcomes definitely could take longer to measure, but the impact is a bigger, longer lasting, and often harder to companies to copy, as I mentioned before. So that's what makes them so valuable, because the companies that view AI kind of that long-term strategic focus aren't just using it to improve their present moment, they're using it to build their future.
You mentioned long-term and that proven ROI in the long term. I'm wondering, is there a learning curve for companies and employees that needs to be considered when looking at that long-term ROI? Like, I guess, do they have to be patient when they're proving these investments?
Yes, absolutely. Like long-term ROI is, it's just as much about building the capability as it is about kind of the immediate outcomes. So it's not just about did this product cut costs, but it's also about what systems and skills are we developing right now that will set us up for our next win. So one of the biggest misconceptions I see is that AI works like any other piece of software, any sort of other piece of IT product. So you just install it, you spend a whole bunch of money installing it, you plug it in, and then boom, like instant results. But AI doesn't quite work that way. It's very probabilistic, it's very context dependent, and it often requires a lot of teams who are using these tools to think differently and work in a different way. And that's a bit of it is a learning curve, and it's a bit of a cultural shift. And that curve includes things like, upskilling employees to work with AI tools and interpret the outputs. You're building out your infrastructure, like for experimentation, and you're monitoring the performance of these models over time. It's more of a shift, a mental shift towards like iteration where, sometimes you may be uncertain about some of the results you get for a project initially. So you have to be willing to kind of experiment and try little sprints where you try something, and you make little tweaks, and you make adjustments. And also another important key is like enabling that collaboration across teams, where from different departments, from product to engineering to even operations. And to be honest, most companies aren't really ready for that on their own, and that's why education and support from AI consultants like myself can really make a real difference for these companies. We help leaders with setting the right expectations with AI, and help them understand what's possible and really guide their teams through that process. Even if an AI project didn't deliver the results at first, it still builds muscle the company can use going forward. So let's say, as another example, a company rolls out an AI-powered inventory management system. So yes, it'll cut costs and increase sales. It might do that for a couple of years, but the bigger impact is now they have a team that's more fluent in AI tools. They can develop training programs around it, and they can hire new roles and scale across departments. So you're not just solving one problem, you're also building the capability to solve more problems.
Time for a couple more quick questions for you, Daryle. What are some of the business enablers for successful ROI in AI projects? Are there any best practices companies should implement?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned a couple of them briefly, but so the first one is kind of business alignment. So the most successful projects have a clear business goal. So it's not about just experimenting with a new tool, but it's also solving a real high impact problem. So you want to really make sure that the project you're thinking about really ties into kind of a business goal, like whether that's revenue, cost savings, and customer outcomes. So start with that first question: what problem are we solving, and how we will know it's working? And the second one is data readiness. So no good data, no good AI. So you want to really make sure that you have data that's accurate, accessible, it's rich in context, and it's set up in a way, governed in a way that supports responsible use. So the third is, I'd say, kind of start small. So you don't have to go really big right away. You can start with a very small problem that's trackable, and then scale from there. And that'll also build confidence and avoid risk of overcommitting to a vast rollout. And I think the last one is, define clear metrics and feedback loops. So you want first to define success upfront, as mentioned before, just like to figure out what good looks like, and then figure out how you would measure that progress over time.
This has been excellent, Daryle. It's a lot of great information for our audience. Hey, just to wrap things up, what are some of the final takeaways you want the listeners or the people who are watching to remember?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a really great conversation. If there's one thing I'd hope people will take away from this, is that AI is not just a technical initiative, it's a business strategy. And yes, technology is powerful, but it's the way companies apply it, align it, and grow with it that determines whether they actually see value. So like I mentioned before, start with the outcome, think beyond the short term. So some projects may take off really quickly, others might take time, but that doesn't mean they're not valuable. So think about how not just what AI will give you in the short term, but how it aligns in the long term, like to strategic, how it aligns with your long-term business goals, and what capabilities that can enable for your teams that you can use for other similar projects. And, the last one I would say is, invest in your people, give your teams the skills to support and freedom to explore and learn, because the companies that really succeed with AI aren't just the ones with the biggest models. They're the ones with the most adaptable teams and with the clearest vision.
That was great, Daryle. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Once again, I want to thank Daryle Serrant for talking to me today and for providing this great presentation. And thanks to the audience for joining us. For Information Week, this is Ben Cole.